Hi guys, it's Beth. Welcome to my channel, Bourbon Creek Crafts. Today I am sharing with you my projects that I made for the Smash That Small Paper Pad collaboration that is hosted by Deb Houck's Crafty Cottage. So I started out this month using what I had pulled out some bits and pieces that I had left from some Scrapping for Less 6x6 paper packs, and they were maybe no more than 5-6 sheets in each of the packs that I had left, but they were just ones left over from my design team days that were still in my drawer. And so I decided to go ahead and use those up because I thought it would be a fun variety to work with. So I started out the month using some of those packs on the June 2021 sheetload of cards that Call Me Crafty Al puts out. So I will link this video down below, but basically I just followed her sketch and used up most of a couple of those packs. So there are, I believe, 16 cards here that I made using her sketch. So from this particular collection, there were a couple, I think one full sheet and then some scraps left. So I just took those, kind of combined them together on some green cardstock and created a card. And then on all of my cards, there's always a scrap on the inside. And then here's this one as well. All I had left were just these two pieces. So this collection was used up. So the other collection I used for the sheet load was a summer fun kind of collection. And so on the back side of these, all of these were reversible, and on the back side of these was pool water patterns, blue patterns, things like that. So I continued on with the fun character patterns here, the pizzas, the donuts, ice cream, and popsicles. And I think I had 2 sheets of each of these in that pack, so this may have been a bigger pack. But I kept it pretty simple. I also had some other papers kind of mixed in that were from, I believe, a Flavor of the Month kit earlier in 2020. And they were kind of more solid patterns. And so I kind of used those as a background where I could to use those up, and then incorporated them with those fun character prints. So again, I just kept it simple, used my ice cream paper here as a rectangle, and then used that kind of more solid as the card mat. And then I just used a Your Cool sentiment because I thought these would be fun either for Cards for Hospitalized Kids or Cards for Cubs that Barely Arts does each year. So I just thought these would be fun for that. So that's the sentiment I used for all of these. And then this one I brought in some cardstock of my own to kind of be the card mat and the strip. This one I did a little bit differently. I did have a donut stamp and die set. So I went ahead and created a donut just to add some embellishment to the front of it. And then the stamp one of the donut stamps I have says "Life is Better with Sprinkles." And then this is actually a random sheet that was left from another collection. And I switched over to make some mini slimlines. So when I cut these down, I cut them, my rectangle is 3 inches, I believe. 3 by 4.25 maybe. And so that left me with 3-inch pieces. And so I did some mini slimlines with the 3-inch pieces that were left. And so here, this is just a piece of ephemera from my stash. I think it was Bella Boulevard maybe, and the colors worked really well, and it was a popsicle. So I brought that in, and then I just turned this one into a thank you. And I thought maybe I could use this one for my Cards for Soldiers Veterans Day thank you cards that I will sign and send off. So, and then continuing with that same layout, I did another one of the donuts with my donut that I stamped and colored, Life is Better with Sprinkles. And then here's another one with the pizza. So then I just had some bits and pieces of those patterns left. And I have found on Pinterest or anywhere really that there's not a ton of like slimline or mini slimline sketches. I think there's more slimline sketches, but there's not a lot of actual like labeled mini slimline sketches. But Mojo Monday does have quite a few of these tall and skinny sketches, which I think would adapt really well to, you know, the mini slimlines. So that's what I did. I have my mini slimline card base and just pulled some cardstock from my stash that coordinated, and then for my card mat and for the strip that goes across here. This one, I did have a die set that had a popsicle, and then I had another stamp set that would actually make a face. I think it was like, it may have been that went with this stamp set. And so I just stamped the face on the popsicle. I thought that would be cool, kind of like those, you know, the squishies or the Shopkin type things that are popular for kids. And so again, then just use that stay cool sentiment. This one, I used some of the pineapple paper, and I had a pineapple die also from Scrapping for Less. And so I used, and with that die, there was this stamp set that had the sunglasses, and I think that's where the little face came from too. But I just thought I'd, you know, you're cool, so is the pineapple. And then I had a bigger piece of the ice cream left. So that used up all of like the food type paper from that collection. And then I had mentioned before that I had some of this paper that was from a Scrapping for Less kit from earlier in 2020. And it was like with a tropical themed kind of collection. And so I had also done some watercoloring when I did my projects for that kit. And so I just kind of combined all of those and, you know, some bits and pieces left from the red, white, and blue popsicles to make some more cards. So here I just took some of the orange paper and then some of my watercolor sunset that I did. And then in my stash, I found some random die cuts that kind of were tropical or went with the sea. And then the stamp set that went with this particular collection in the kit had a stamp that said, "In need of vitamin C." So I just thought that's why the snorkel and this is a stretch, but the snorkel and the tropical drink were kind of like, you need to get away and, you know, visit the ocean, whatever. So then I had a lot of this blue pattern left, and so I decided to go ahead and turn these. I think they're meant to be like more ocean or water, but I turned them into some patriotic cards again that I can use for the Cards for Soldiers veteran thank you cards. So I just took 2 scraps that I had, kind of pieced them together, covered them with like a white strip of vinyl that I had. And then I had some rub-ons that Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing had sent me last year, because she doesn't really love rub-ons, and I like them. They tend to work well for me. And so I just pulled those in just to kind of give the paper a little bit more, I don't know, pizzazz in the background. So I just kind of have them kind of laying underneath my red mat here from the top and bottom, and then I added some of the smaller ones to my sentiment, which says, "God shed his grace on thee," and that I printed out from my silhouette. So here's another one where I was just using some red and blue scraps from those collections, and then here I brought in some little patriotic quilled stickers or embellishments that I had in my stash. I decided to use some of those. Here's some more of that red, white, and blue popsicle card, and then this is another Bella Boulevard ephemera piece, and then I just paired it with a like blue striped background, and that might even be 2 pieces that I kind of pieced together here, but turn that into another patriotic thank you. And then with the last bit of scraps from the tropical ones, I just kind of cut them all down to the same width here and then put them across, and then added thinking of you sentiment. And then this was one of the stamps that was in that kit, the little palm trees. And then I added some clear sparkle Nuvo drops on there just to kind of act as like water droplets. Oh, one last bit of cards from my random Scrapping for Less collections. There was also a watermelon pack that I had. So I kind of went back to make it quick and easy on myself, I went back to Alicia's sheetload of cards sketch from this month, and just changed it up a little bit. I added a bigger mat on the background here, used whatever width strips I had for this piece that goes across the middle, and then used a rectangle sentiment. So your one in a melon, this is one that I had kind of adapted in my Silhouette studio to turn into just a printable, and just use like different variations of the watermelon paper. And when I could, I used the watermelon paper kind of as the background for my sentiment as well. I thought those were all just fun and cute. And again, there's paper on the inside. And then I had like a bunch of little bitty scraps. So I pulled out Sunday Sketch 090113 and just made a bunch of banners out of those and put them on some green cardstock. And then this one is a sentiment that I typed it myself in my Silhouette to print out, which it says the same thing, your one in a melon. So that finally used up the last of the Scrapping for Less paper, and I still wanted to make some more patriotic cards. And so I pulled out this America 6x6 pad from Echo Park that I got last year, I think. And I also had some 4th of July pictures that I wanted to scrap. So I did 2 quick scrapbook pages, just pulled in. I took one sheet of the 6x6 here and cut it in half. So I had 2 3x6 inch strips and just laid them across this paper and kind of met them together here in the middle, but you can't see because it's covered. And then I did the same thing. I cut some smaller strips of this little red gingham to go across as well. And that's really all the paper I used, but I did pull in some of the 4th of July specific cut-aparts that were in that pad. And I did 2 pages with that. So then I did the rest cards. And I believe I have like 34 or 35 cards here. And I decided to go with 3.5 by 5 inch cards for these. I came across a great deal on the 3.5 by 5 inch envelopes last year sometime. And so now I have a ton of those envelopes. And I used to use this size a lot to make note cards, but lately I've been making more of the A2 size note cards. So I decided that since these cards, they're not going to be mailed individually, they kind of get sent over in packs to troops stationed, so they go in bundles. And so I thought, well, the smaller size would be fine for that. I don't, write a ton inside my cards anyway, and then that way I can use up some of those envelopes. And this was great to make the most of the 6x6 paper. So I kind of pre-planned once I picked my card size and figured out that I could take a 6x6 sheet, cut it at, 4 3/4 across the top, and then take that 4 3/4 by 6 piece and cut it in half. So I had 2 3 by 4 3/4 inch pieces, and then like a 2 inch strip here at the top. So what I did is the 3 and 4 3/4 inch pieces became my card mat, and these were double-sided, and I did more of the solid side for the card mat, and then took those 2 inch strips and put them across the card here, and then took some of the cut aparts as my embellishment. And then a few cases I did have to go through and add a little bit more just to dress them up. So I did these big strips as much as I could, but I had more mats than I did these strips. So I also pulled in when I cut out the cut aparts, cut them up, I was left with some of the tear strips at the top. And so I also pulled those in and did pretty much the same thing, except for I put the cut apart in the middle, and then also added some little stars that were already punched in my stash. So used a bunch of little tiny star punches from my stash, which was good. But so this went super quick. I think I used this whole pad up in half a day. And most of that time was just in prepping. So here's some more of the ones I had with a bigger strip, and then this was the other size cut apart. There were 2 size cut aparts, and I love that red, white, and blue floral. That was my favorite print, and I love that combination with that light blue cut apart and then the floral. So I'm just flipping through these really quickly because the styles, they're all the same layout, just different cut aparts and different pattern combinations. So again, like I said, that the prep took the longest, and then my scrapbook pages took the longest, but then the card process went really quick. Okay, so once I used up all of my strips, my longer strips, I kind of was left with random scraps. So here was a smaller strip that I had left that I just put behind a cut apart and then fishtailed. And I think I have, oh, there's another one of those. Yep, I had 2 of those that I was able to do. I think this may have been a bigger piece that I cut in half, like maybe one of the 2 by 3 inch cut aparts. And then of the 2 by 2 inch cut aparts, there were some that were 4th of July specific. So like these that I used on my page there, and there were 4 sheets of each cut apart style. So I took the ones that I didn't use on my pages that were 4th of July specific and just turned them around and then used them kind of as an offset to some of the other cut aparts. So then I had a handful of those. And then I had some random pieces left. This was the back side of a couple of cut aparts, of the bigger cut aparts, and a strip. So I just kind of grouped those together. And then at the very end, I had 2 cut aparts left and no paper. So I took to my pad cover and cut out 2 of the strips from the pad and just used those to go across the middle of the card, and pulled out some cardstock from my stash, and that used up the last bit. And again, the inside either has the pattern paper scraps or cardstock. So the only scraps I had from this pad were when I cut out fishtails. That was like the only scraps I had. So I totally smashed this one. And I got some of these fun but miscellaneous 6x6 patterns from Scrapping for Less out of my drawer. So I made a lot of cards this month from 6x6 pads. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all of that and got some inspiration to maybe use up some of the random 6x6, like, or I guess leftovers of 6x6 pads that you have in your stash, or, you know, a quick way to use up some of your 6x6 pads for cards. And there are a lot of other participants in this collaboration, and they always have fun ideas for 6x6 or just anything smaller than 12x12, really. They always have great ideas and great inspiration. So please be sure to check out their links in the description box below. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. I have all kinds of inspiration for using up paper, whether it be 6x6 or 12x12 or kits. I am working through all of that this year. And I thank you guys so much for your time today, and hope you're all having a very crafty day.